Welcome to Tammy Nation. Let's go.
I've been running from 9 to 5, been biting my tongue for all this time. Won't let anyone cut me short. I was thinking this was the way to go, and you put up your puppet show. I say cheers to life. No, I'll be no good man's wife. Just leave me alone. I'm running the show. I'm telling you, it's my time to rise up. Live the life I'm proud of. No, you better go home.
Hey, good evening, you guys. Thanks for being here. It is 6:30 on June 1st, 2023. Hey, Kim and Paula and D-Dog, it's good to see you guys here. And some of you that may be watching and not talking, you're always welcome to watch, learn, listen, and grow with us here at Tammy Nation. So I want to do a quick show tonight because I think it's a topic that a lot of people avoid. It's very uncomfortable and very hard to talk about. It's very sensitive, but it's about saying goodbye to a loved one and maybe the plans that the loved one would have, whether it be us in the future when it's our time or a loved one that's passed recently. So I'm coming on because you guys may have heard about my friend Jerry, who my good friend Bethia took care of actually for over a year. Well, yesterday evening he left. He passed away. He joined Jesus and gained his wings. So there's blessing in this, in the fact that the man died peacefully at home, which is the way he wanted it to be. And ironically, I was out close to his home, and the person that was with him at the time gave us a phone call, my friend and I, and we turned around from where we were and we got there, and we were there and blessed to be able to share his last few moments with him. And a lot of people I know and I understand aren't able to do that, and that's okay. But my goal tonight is just to talk to you about the things that are uncomfortable, how we can maybe do better, maybe how we can talk about our wishes with our loved ones before that time comes and plan for it. There is beauty in the ashes, as Jesus promises us. So last night, like I said, it just everything timed out perfectly because the man's family isn't around. They're out of state. And they were en route, but he was able to not be alone, obviously, and he was around the three of us, and it was very beautiful and very peaceful. He was 92 years old, but to kind of give you an overview of who Jerry was, he was in the Air Force. He was a retired Air Force, but at his age, for his birthday, the last few years, what he did was planned different fun events for his birthday. The man had a fighting spirit and a wonderful spirit all the way to the end. And at 89, he went skydiving. At 90, he drove a race car. And at 91, he went hang gliding. And this year, he's 92, and he told his son, his birthday is in July, that he wasn't going to make it to his birthday. And he didn't. He knew. But the point of it is not to be people think it's creepy. People think it's kind of rough to talk about it, but I think it's necessary because we celebrate people in the births. We celebrate birthdays. We celebrate life. When people pass away, I think we should have a celebration of their life as well. But before we do, I think that it's very important to tell our loved ones what we would want. Hey, D-Dog, 91. Yep, my grandpa, 90, or when screaming, yep, in his car. Oh, D-Dog. Yeah, there's something else. Well, I'll tell you. it was a whole process that the first time I experienced a process like that from beginning to end, because like I said, family wasn't there. So my friend was the one responsible, and then another friend that was there, and then me. I was more or less in the background. The two that were there were his full-time caretakers, and I was just a friend. But the point is, it was a beautiful gift to be able to be there and be supportive of him, that he wasn't alone. He was where he wanted to be. And this was all planned out. So that is my whole point to this tonight with my experiences. And like I said, it may be uncomfortable for people to speak about. You don't have to talk, but if you want to share experiences in the chat, that's absolutely fine too. I don't want it to be depressing and sad. I want it to be hopeful and honest, and talk about this, to even if it just gives people peace. Because I know a lot of times when people pass away, we don't have peace. We beat ourselves up, and we say, well, I should have done this, or I could have done this, and we have regrets. And if you do have that, I mean, I would ask you to let that go, because it's not serving you any good. And we all know that people, when they pass away, they wouldn't want us to be suffer and feeling guilty and all that. They would want us to live our best life for the rest of our life. So as an homage or an homage to the people in our lives that we love, grief is real. Grief will come and go. It's true. But I don't believe they would ever want us to live in regret, to live in guilt, and just to not live the rest of our lives fully, especially if we know that we're going to see them again someday. So like I said, I'm going to post a couple pictures of Jerry on my community page after. One of them is him hand gliding at 91 years old, and the other one is inside of the race car he drove at 90. But the blessing that came from this as well was yesterday morning. He was sitting up in the chair at the kitchen table and wanted his usual full breakfast that my friend makes him all the time. He hadn't been eating much really for a few days or so, but he was sitting up, and he wanted the full breakfast, and he ate the full breakfast. And my friend was like, Jared, smile and take a picture. And he did. He had a huge smile on his face, and he had this like twinkle in his eye. And he's like, you know what? I'm eating my breakfast. This is what I want. This is what I want to do. And she sent me the picture, and I couldn't believe it, because the night before when I was over there, he wasn't doing well at all. So to see that little rally, to see him be able to have a final good meal was just such a blessing and wonderful. And he really enjoyed it. And a little funny story on the night before when I went over there to visit him. And this is how I say, I know that it's hard for people sometimes when somebody's dying or in that the phase, they can't be around it. It's too much. And I totally get that. I just want to, like I said, share my experiences, what I've had. And I'm going to talk about my father as well, because I think it's important, because everybody handles things differently, and not everybody can do the same thing, the same way. Some people, it's far too emotional. But the point is, if you have enough people around you and you plan for these times, then whoever's the strongest maybe in your family to be able to tend to that loved one is there by their side while you're in another room. It's just, you need a support group. And I think that it saves a lot of problems, frustration, anger, anxiety when the actual dying phase is happening for our loved one. If we know ahead of time, it takes so much pressure off of us during the time that they're transitioning, that we can be, let's say, a little more relaxed, a little more content, knowing that we are doing exactly what they would have us do. Okay. There's Bethia. Bethia's in chat. She's the one that is my good friend that was his caretaker, and she did a fantastic job with him, because like I said, there was no family there. So she was the one talking to everybody and handling it. And it was her first time doing that. But because she loved him, and because she knew what he wanted, and because she was open and had these great conversations. I'm speaking about a 92-year-old friend of mine that passed away yesterday. I'm just sharing the story. I'm going to share stories about my father as well. Just basically trying to help people be able to handle the end of life for a loved one maybe a little easier, maybe have a little more understanding, and not have it be chaotic towards the end, because we know the struggle is real. Even though we know our loved ones end up in a better place and we're going to see them again sometime, the grief is real that we face and we suffer. And we know that when we lose somebody, it is so chaotic and it is so crazy that there's so much to be done after the fact, that it is emotional draining and everything seems like a blur. You know, you have people coming over, bringing food, calling, and all that. And it's like all this is going on. And then all of a sudden it all goes away and stops. And then we're left wondering, well, what do I do now? Because life isn't going to be the same. Life is never the same. So what I'm trying to do is get across planning ahead of time as much as possible, being able to have open, honest conversations with people, and planning who can be in station and on duty at the times that you need to be on duty, who can handle what, instead of panicking at the last moment, trying to pull things together, because that just adds to the anxiety and stuff. Kim, I can't handle that. Yes, Kim, see, that's okay. That's okay. But see, if there's a friend, you know, I wouldn't like it, but I'd be there. Listen, I'll tell you, it isn't comfortable, you guys. It's not comfortable. It's not like it's all happy and happy. Even though, like I said, we know where we end up and we know that we're going to see him again someday. It is very challenging. And everything that happened yesterday was not pretty and not good and not easy. It was not. But the thing is, when you have an understanding and a love and a calm, and you can do it and you're able to do it and you support each other up, that is what's so beautiful and wonderful about it. And that's where I say that God turns beauty from the ashes, to know that you did the best you could do for a loved one, and everybody will handle it differently. And I'm not knocking anybody that can't be around it, like I said, but talking about it before it happens is a really good thing, like the planning out of it. I will tell you, he had a DNR and the do not resuscitate. And that is crucial, you guys. If you didn't know this, if you don't have that piece of paper and it's not right there to hand EMS when they come, they're going to have to do, no matter what you say, they are legally bound to have to do everything to resuscitate somebody. It doesn't matter their age. It doesn't matter their condition. They will have to do it. And that is fine if that's what your loved one wants. But my point is, have that conversation. Have that conversation with your kids and your family members now. And they'll say, don't be so gruesome. Or, a lot of times people will push that away and will not want to have that conversation. But I'm telling you, I promise you, it is way better to face that uncomfortableness, if you can, ahead of time with that loved one, than it is after the fact and trying to figure it out when you're an emotional mess and it's chaotic, or if you're not sure what they want. Because I have seen with my own eyes in my experiences, family members that just battle each other because they're like, one wants to do this, the other's like, no, they would want this to happen. And if they haven't spoken to the actual person that this is occurring to, it can cause the rest of the lifelong frustrations and anger and separation and family members. And that loved one who's passing away doesn't want that to happen, wouldn't want that to happen. And let me tell you, it's a reminder, the person that is dying, it's about dying, that dying person. It isn't about what we want. It isn't about, and I know that seems harsh, but it's the truth. It is about the person dying. It is their experience, their wishes that need to be fulfilled. It is not our wants. It is the most selfless act that you can have, is to accept your loved one and what they want when they pass away. What procedures do they want done? Who they want around, who they don't. And you respect that. You may not agree with it, but it's not up to you. It is up to them. We are born alone and we pass away alone. But that transition can be so much calmer and so much more easier for the person who has experienced it, especially if it's a long-term illness, if they know everything's set in place. Because I would not want, if I had the illness, to have people Hey, Benjamin, it's good to see you. I would not want people around me, my loved ones, upset and frustrated any more than I already know they are going to be. It's not like the dying person doesn't know that their loved ones around them are dealing with that, but they're the ones that need to be loved on, the dying ones, and calm down and have that peacefulness. That's all I'm saying. So while everybody's okay, if you have the time and the blessing to be able to prepare ahead of time, it makes it so much better. Camperman said, I would like to do two things: go rafting down Colorado River and fly in a jet fighter. That's pretty cool, Camperman. That sounds good to me. And Devil Dog, D-Dog, you've already got a DNR. Yep. So, hey, everybody, if I missed anybody, by the way, because I'm getting going here on this. So that's what I was saying. So last night, even though everything was planned out, I will tell you it was a long process, because it was like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It was like 4 or 5 hours from the moment we got there until things were completed. And then after things were completed, there was more to do, because you have to remember, after, if somebody's at home, after all the authorities and everybody's there, the coroner, and then the funeral home to come get the person and take them away, then you have phone calls to continue making. And it is very, very draining. I know Bethia stayed up all night. The family members were out of town, but they drove all night and got there early this morning. And so she was taking care of them, helping them out. She was making them breakfast. She was running errands today. And like I said, she's not family, so to speak, but she is a friend that became family. So that's why I think it's so important to vocalize what you would have for your final times and who you would want to be around, people you can love and trust. I've always told people that they are in a better place and we are no more suffering with Jesus and God and man. That's absolutely true. And Paula, that's the whole thing about this. We know that our loved ones, I've always said and believed through all my experiences, because ever since high school, I've been the one that always went with my father, because my mother did not like hospitals care for that. She couldn't do that. And that's okay, because she would stay home, cook the food. She would tend to the things that needed to be outside of the hospital and the different issues there. It was my father and I that always went around with the grandparents and the parents and the great grandparents. So I was conditioned to this from very early on. And when I was younger, it was not comfortable. It was kind of nerve wracking. It was kind of scary and stuff like that. But as I've matured and experienced it longer, got closer to God, got into spirituality, I said, I can't have it both ways. If I really believe that my loved one's at a better place, then I have to believe that. And it doesn't mean you shut off your feelings. You still have feelings that run all over the place. It's been 8 years since my dad's passed away, and I still have a gamut of emotions. What I'm saying is, we don't want to sink in that severe depression, that severe guilt, where we don't continue living our best life. I still tear up when I talk about him. I still think about him. It's not like it goes away. Your life is never, ever the same when you lose somebody. I don't care what age it is, who it is, it's never the same. It's always different. So it is up to us to make the adjustments we need to within ourselves to continue on with our lives being different. And that's where friends and family, sometimes people don't know what to say to people either. So you have to have extra patience and grace, because there are no perfect words to say. Sometimes it's just a comfort and a hug, and that's all you do. Also, what I wanted to say was, so this story that I wanted to tell you that I told Jerry the night before, not last night, the night before, he was out of it, but we were talking and laughing, and he would snap up and then go back down. But it was really cool to be able to experience a story with him and laugh. And I was telling him this story about how patient my husband is with me, because I was determined to super glue. I had a pool net, and the netting came away from the plastic. So I told my husband, I'm going to go out there and I'm super gluing it. It's a new it's a new net. I'm not going to buy another one. I can handle this. And he's like, are you sure? Because super glue, and he's telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So I go out there to super glue this net. Okay. And my husband comes out and he's standing there and I'm like, do you want to do it? And he's like, no, you go ahead. But I would suggest you get gloves on so you don't get your fingers stuck together. And I would suggest you use a piece of wood and you press the netting down, because what's going to happen is you glue it, the netting's going to pop up. And he goes, I know you're going to get frustrated and you're going to get disappointed, and it's going to be not a good thing here. You're going to end up, not happy with the results. So I'm like, okay, yeah. So I ended up listening to him. He helped me do it. He's like, no, you go ahead. So I got a piece of cloth, put it over the netting after I put the glue down, and I'm pressing the piece of material down on the netting in the glue. And my husband is holding a piece of wood and he's got it down. Well, I was holding his pliers. Okay. And I'm like going up and down the strip, trying to just seal it down. And my husband's like, you don't need to play with it. You're playing with it. And I said, I'm not playing with it. This is going to work. I know it's going to work. So he's being very patient with me because he knows how stubborn I am. And he's just holding his little piece of wood. Well, you guys, we did it for 30 seconds there. We're looking at it. He pops his wood up. He's absolutely fine. His side smooth as silk. He had no glue my fingers together. So you know what I did? I did not glue my fingers together. However, for some way, somehow, the glue got on my two fingers, my thumb and my finger and my index finger. And I go, look, the glue's on me. He's like, don't touch me. Don't you get near me. He's like, I don't want that glue on me. And I started laughing because I said, you know what? I am a child. I'm stubborn. I'm obstinate. You told me what was going to happen. And I said, I'm really ticked off that your side is fine. My netting and stuff is all bunched up. It's not really working right. And then I picked up his wire cutters things or pliers that I had. And guess what? I glued them shut. I couldn't get the pliers open because I was running and pressing the metal pliers along the glue in the netting. They wouldn't open. I said, oh my gosh, I just ruined your wire, your pliers. And I started laughing. So Jerry, the point of this whole story was I was telling Jerry this last night, and in between talking, we're laughing and we're cracking up, and he'd stop to catch his breath. And he goes, you know what, Tammy? He goes, your husband probably thinks, oh no, here she comes again. And I'm like, you're absolutely right, Jerry. When it comes to anything technical like that, I'm really not that good at it. So he's very patient with me because he wants me to learn and teach me, but I end up making more of a mess than a solution. So the point was I got to share that story with him and he got to get a laugh out of it. And it was just very special, because then he went back to sleep for a little bit. But like I said, with death and the passing, you just never know. So if you can, I don't want to say pull yourself together, but I want to say if you can hang on and try to make sure that you tell, and we did tell each other yesterday that we loved each other too as well, or the day before when I told that story. I'm like, I love you, Jerry. And he goes, I love you too. So that was a beautiful gift in a moment too. So that's my point, that even though it's uncomfortable, the person who's passing obviously knows they're passing, obviously trying to make them comfortable and share true, honest stories and happiness and treat them almost normal is a very good blessing and a gift if you're able to do that, because they know, and you don't want to make them more uncomfortable. And that's my point is if we can at least have conversations, that's the beautiful thing about life, right? Because here it is yesterday, he was fine eating breakfast yesterday morning, and then he was gone in the evening. And it's I don't care if it's been planned for a while, or expected for a while, not planned, expected for a while, or if it's quick. The point is that moment when people are gone is surreal. Once that moment, there's no getting that back. They're gone. And it is the most surreal moment that there is in this world. And if you don't have God, and if you don't have prayer and you don't have faith, I just really don't know how people get through it. I really don't. And I've said that a million times about things in life. If we don't have God, I don't know how people do it, because there are these moments and there's these experiences that aren't always pretty and always good, but there's still beauty in them. You can still find some good in them, and you have more of a peace, more of a peace and a calm about yourself, I guess you would say. And up to the moment that he just wasn't mobile anymore, he was still doing stuff. He was still getting up as best he could. He was still going outside, getting fresh air. He was just a fighter all the way to the end. So that he inspired me. The man inspired me for the short period of time I knew the man. He touched my life, and I'll be forever grateful and thankful for that. And that ties into what I was saying the other day about letting different people into our lives, and being open minded and open hearted to having different people in our lives, no matter if it's short term or long term. We don't know that. There's no guarantees, but it can be special. It can be so special, and we carry these memories and these experiences with us, and then we're able to share these with other people. And like I said, I get that it's not easy for everybody. There was a friend that came over that was like, I just, was telling stories about him and saying, I want to remember him the way he was. And that's fine, because that happens. People just are like, I can't do anything post after this. I want to remember them for the living, breathing, fun person that they are. And there's nothing wrong with that either. I'm just saying, if you can have conversations and if you can prepare, get DNRs if you want DNRs, plan your food ahead of time. I remember my grandmother doing that. She had everything planned ahead of time. She picked everything out and she would talk about it. And some people in the family just didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. And that's okay. But there were some people that did. And those are the ones that, when it finally came time, handled everything, made the calls, did what they needed to do. So that's how we unify with friends and family, not just in the celebrations of the good things, but the kindness and the gift that it is to be with someone as best we can once they pass over, or as they're passing over, or even with family members after, to ask them out for coffee and if they want to talk. And even if they don't want to talk, just to sit with them and just sit with them. Sometimes people just want company to be, and there's nothing wrong with that either. And like I said, death is about the person dying. And I've experienced through different times in my life, family members that, were not around, okay, for whatever reason. But then when push came to the shove, and it was like the last days, they came zipping in, trying to take over, take control. And the people that had been tending to these people, they kind of pushed out of the way and pushed aside. And all of a sudden it was all this drama and all this, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And, and then they start questioning the very caretakers. And that's wrong too. So that's why it's better to get it settled in place and settled with the things in the home, or, and all that. People go in, and sometimes, believe it or not, I couldn't believe it. It's happened with my family, on a side of my family. I'm not going to name which side, but as soon as the person passed away, a couple of the people went in and just stripped everything out of the house and took it. And to the point that I thought, my gosh, what kind of greed and evil is that you want to take the things and you want to have control over the things? You should wait until the will is read. You should ask people. And that seems like common sense to me. So when family members can go and do that to family members, because sometimes funerals and death brings out the worst in family members, and that's really unfortunate. It's emotions run high, anger runs high. Basically, it's all over the place. So I'm just saying, we should let go of our guilt. So if there's somebody out there, someone out there, people out there, that if your loved one's already passed and you're still sitting in regrets of, I wish this or I want that, I'm going to ask you, has that done you any good? has anything changed from that feeling, that sense of loss? That it hasn't. It's kept you stifled down, and you don't deserve that. You are forgiven. You just need to ask for forgiveness and go to God. We say that all the time, and it's about everything in life. And you have to forgive yourself, because hanging on to the what ifs, I should have, could have, and it doesn't matter what it is in life, including death. You need to let that go, because you're not doing yourself or anybody around you a service by hanging on to that. Because what happens is you get angry and you project all that negativity over weeks, days, years to the other people in your life. It affects, it's just like a chain reaction. So I guess I'm here about just forgiving yourself and finding a way, finding a path to whatever is broken in you here and there, different things. Some are deeper than others, and start healing yourself. Start moving on with your life, living your best life. And you shouldn't feel guilty about that. We are told we don't need to feel guilty. We just need to ask forgiveness, And, like I said, we can carry it on to, you know, some people are just stronger in different ways than other people, and that's not bad. We shouldn't finger point with family members. If one sister can do this, but the other sister can't, there's got to be a way to meet in the middle and to have experiences that, even if they're bad, bring you closer together instead of pushing you further apart, is what I'm saying. Also, I'll cover and go over an experience that I had with my father. So we all know that, death is coming. Sometimes we don't know when it's coming. Sometimes we do. So with my father, he was my best friend. So most of my young life, because he was young when he passed away, it was 8 years ago. That was the worst thing I thought I was ever going to face. I dreaded that. Okay. I dreaded that. So when he got sick, I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. So I had so many gifts because I did start really praying to God. I prayed for clarification. I prayed, for wisdom, for strength, all the things that you do in life, right? I tried to stay strong and be in control of and do what I needed to do, because other family members were not able to do what I was able to do at the time. And then towards the end, they did do what they needed to do, because he was also able to pass at home. He was in hospice. And that's the other thing about hospice. If you guys don't know, hospice isn't just about pain management, and hospice isn't just about the end of the life. Like, basically, it doesn't mean you've given up on your loved one. Hospice creates peace and calm and settles the person who's passing down. It is more than just end of life. Some people rebound from hospice. Some people walk out of hospice. Guess what Jerry did? Jerry was in hospice a few years ago, and he got up and he walked right out of there and lived 3 more years. But they do manage the pain, but they also help the family in ways that maybe family can't help each other. So my father had hospice, and I'll tell you, it was a blessing. It was amazing. And he also got to pass at home like he wanted to do. And that was a blessing. But the journey to that point was not easy. So for the family members, all of us, to be as strong as we can for the last year of his life was really crucial. And at times the tempers did flare, but we had open conversations. And we tried to mend and heal things as quickly as we could, because we did not want to, end up fighting or this causing permanent damage on our family. Our family was so small anyhow that, we wanted to work through it as best we can. And there's no perfect answer or solution at all, but conversation and feelings and being able to express your feelings is crucially important. Even especially, if you did not get along with a family member. I've experienced that too, that I had family members that they did not get along, but they made peace before it was too late to not make peace. But I know there are people that haven't had the opportunity to do that. So that's why I say it's good to forgive yourself now and work on that now, because hanging on to it isn't doing you any good. But so with my father, with the hospice, we had many conversations, my father and I, before he got to the hospice point. And that's another thing. You can follow your loved one's lead. And we shared stories of the past and memories, and I'll cherish them forever. And I did pray to God the last time I drove up there, because my father's and my family's in Michigan and I'm here in Georgia. So it was a 13.5 hour one, straight through drive for me. So when it got bad and I got the phone call, because I had just come back, I spent 3 different trips up there the last year of his life, 2 weeks at a time, 2 week stints in the hospital. 24/7, I was in the hospital with him. I would just go home to his house, shower, and then go back, because when he was at home, the family, my mom and my brothers, took care of him. But while he was in the hospital, I would go up and I would spend all my time with him there because I just wanted to. But that was a blessing. It got me used to the sound and the functionality of a hospital. And I know some people avoid it, but it really gives you appreciation for hospital workers and stuff, and for the heart that they have and for the service that they provide. Like I said, some of them have got a bad rap the last few years, and we don't need to go into that. But I will tell you, I have a great respect and admiration for hospital people and doctors. Having open conversations with them is crucially important too. You can't just believe or just accept everything they tell you. There's nothing wrong with you questioning. You have to be your own advocate when you face issues, and be your person's advocate, whoever's in the hospital who maybe can't speak up for themselves. You have to be strong, and you have to be able to ask the questions that you need answered, instead of you just trying to figure it out in your mind. So that experience really made me grow up a lot, let's just say. I saw a lot of things. I dealt with a lot of things, a lot of different sounds and noises that weren't necessarily wonderful, but it gave me, for me personally, a peace to be able to be there for my father the way that I was able to be there for him. So, that was important. So by the time he got home, my last time I drove up there, I just prayed to God. I said, please, God, can I make it there in time to be able to say goodbye to him? And I did. So that was simply amazing to me. That was a gift that I believe God gave me, that he knew that I needed, that I wanted, that he gave me, and he passed the very next day. But I was there in time he knew I was there. He couldn't speak or anything, but he did squeeze my hand a few times. And I was reading him scripture that night and the next day until he passed in the afternoon. But the thing was, it was a peaceful passing. It was beautiful. It was a gift that I was given because I needed that. I wanted that for my closure, and I wanted to be there for him. And I will tell you, that's what I say. His last breath here was his first breath in heaven, where we go, where I believe we go. And I always say, the minute they leave here and inhale or exhale here and they take their next breath, they're where they're going to be, and they're healed and they're fine and everything is good. But it's us left behind, like I said, that have the different issues that we face. So I am trying to say, just try to clear it all up before that happens, and you'll be a lot better off for it. If you can build that strength and that confidence to be able to do that. Also, I got something I'm going to show you. When he was passing and I was talking to him, I held onto his hand, and my other hand was on his heart. So I said that he passed. We were hand in hand and heart to heart, that he brought me into the world. He was there when I got brought into the world, and God blessed me and gave me the gift to be able to take him, or let him go, and be there for him as he left this world. And it was hand to hand, heart to heart. So when I got home, after everything was taken care of and stuff, I went to the store. I had to get some things, and I found this, you guys, and it gave me the chills. And I believe there's something more out there. You may not, but there's also little gifts that we get, and I believe that we get if we look for them, if we're ready to receive them. If God knows we need them, we get it, whether it's a conversation, whether it's symbols. People talk about birds and cardinals. People talk about angels. People talk about feathers. But when I came home and went to the store the first time, this is what I found in the store, and I just about fell out. So hopefully you can see that. It says hand in hand and heart to heart. That's exactly the verbiage that I used with my family and with my friends of how I helped my dad out of this world. We were hand in hand, heart to heart. When I saw this, I thought, this is a special gift. This is a gift of, you know what? He knows that we were there. God is gift to me of, you know what, here. This is something tangible that you can see and touch to know that I was there with you as well, all of you. And so it's precious to me, that little thing. And I've never seen anything like that since. And I will tell you one other thing about my father. When after he passed and my mom came down to visit for the first time, that's really weird as well because he wasn't here. But when we were talking, I was standing in front of her and she was inside the back porch. And out of nowhere, this big white feather came flying down. And we were talking about my dad at that moment. And it's like, oh, you say, oh, that's coincidence. There's birds all around, there's feathers and stuff. But it was the most beautiful feather. And I'm like, Mom, did you see that? And she goes, yes, I did. And I picked it up and I still have it. And I mean, I'm looking around for birds and stuff because we as humans are so silly. We look for signs and then we're given them and then we ignore them. We say we have faith, but then we don't really believe it when, you know, it comes time sometimes. Or we say a quick prayer to God and we're like, okay, you got this. And we go off and then we try to take control over our lives again. We're very, it seems like temperamental. We say one thing one moment and then we do another thing the other moment. So what I did was I did some prayers and I said, you know what, if this is really real, like testing or requesting, whatever you want to call it, I said, and I got this little glass jar and I said, if this is really real and this is your sign to me, because I've heard about people that get pennies or money, they find it, you know what I mean, around after their loved one leaves and stuff. So I said, if it's really real, this little jar that I have, I want it full of feathers within a couple weeks. I just want to see how many feathers. And I'm telling you guys, I'm not kidding you. That jar was filled within a week. I was finding feathers all over the place in my backyard. When I would go for a walk, there'd be a feather right at my foot. And my husband's like, well, there's birds. There's going to be feathers. I said to my husband, we have been here how many years? Have you ever seen so many feathers around this yard? I never see you pick up a feather. I never see you run across a feather, mow the lawn and find a feather. I've never been walking and found all these feathers. I had tons of feathers. So that was my little thing. I believe that was just a little touch from above, from heaven, from God saying, you know what? I've got him. He's okay. And everything's going to be all right. And speaking of that, everything's going to be all right. There is a song by David Lee Murphy that called Everything's Going to Be All Right. It's David Lee Murphy. Everything's going to be all right. If you guys have not heard that song, it's a beautiful and an amazing song. And it just kind of saying, you know, don't hit the panic button. Everything's going to be all right. And it can really apply to anything in life. Sometimes, you know, music just sets the mood and makes us feel good. And, you know, it's a good song that if you guys want to refer to or check out, if you haven't yet, I would highly recommend it just to take the edge off, just to find it's got a nice little beat to it. As it slows you down. And then the other thing, today's daily scripture was Psalm 23, 1-2. And that psalm is, the Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He lies me down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. And I thought that's a nice little touch and a nice little hint that Jerry's okay. He's there. This is the scripture. It's like confirmation. So if we look for it, we're not crazy. We don't have to just believe coincidence, or we just have to believe the negative things in life. We have to believe in the good too. God is faithful. God never breaks promises. God gives us these truths in his scripture and in the Bible. We read these scriptures, they enrich our lives. It's when we take control over ourselves and we get in that humanness of it, and that we lose our grip sometimes. And the other thing that was sent to me today was Psalm 147:3, and it said, he heals the brokenhearted and he binds up their wounds. So that is another amazing scripture to refer to. And remember, whenever you're down or brokenhearted, and it can be about anything, it's a simple little sentence. He heals the brokenhearted and he binds up their wounds. And I think that's pretty amazing and powerful in one little sentence to be able to have that. So with all that, you guys, like I said, I didn't want it to be depressing. I just wanted to have a quick, good conversation, just to have you guys think a little bit, maybe give yourselves a break and not feel guilty or bad, or maybe understand and seek for yourself the different things and start visiting maybe what you would want to have done. And even though it's an uncomfortable thing, it is part of life. We all are going to experience it. There's no getting out of it, no getting away from it. But if we can make it as peaceful and as easy as possible, we're going to be a lot better off in the long run for it. And our lives will just be better down the road for other people too. And we can help lead and guide the children about that as well. And I know that we've all experienced a lot of unfortunate passings and untimely passings of loved ones the last few years, with the different things that went on and the decisions that were made or not made. And I just think that this is also another avenue that the young children, they're seeing a lot more of the death and the different things going on than we normally do. It's not like the natural process is going on. There's been a lot of things going on in the world that are not good. So if we can have a conversation about that with our children, I think that's important too. All these hard conversations, I think now is really a good time to do it. I know in the past generations and when we were younger, hey, Christopher, it's good to see you. When we were younger, we really, we didn't talk about this stuff. Really now we're just getting where we're starting to talk about it. I remember that, it was a no topic, and it was disrespectful to talk about death or sickness or what somebody wanted. But, it is a relief to be able to do that. And then you put all that aside and that person is going to be happy and content knowing that their wishes will be fulfilled. I remember, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do, sometimes funerals would last 7 days, some still do, and that's okay. But also what I have seen is people are more accepting of what people want. Like, they'll put the special things in the coffins that people wanted, they liked, like whether it's cigarettes or cards or, a Bible, no matter what it is, a stuffed animal. And I think that helps, obviously, the living have the closure and be able to add some good to something that used to be, it seemed like so procedural and so unfeeling. You weren't supposed to cry a lot or act out or ask questions, that you were supposed to just accept things and then move on. And I think that is a disservice, because as humans, we have feelings. We're gonna have questions. Children are gonna have questions. And we should be able to talk about it because it is part of life. So that's all I had about this, you guys. Like I said, I'm going to put a couple pictures up of Jerry and a little thing up there for him. So it was an interesting, like I said, couple days, because it is about life and death. Yesterday, I experienced a death. Today is a birthday. So it's a celebration. So life, you just never know what it's going to throw at you within a 24-hour period. You really don't. So that's why I always say, no matter what it is that I can offer, I want you to have your best life. I'm just going to get out here and tell you my experiences, share your experiences with me like you do. I'm not always right. I don't know everything, but I want to share and I want to be open about it and start the discussion. Like I said, plant the seed. Maybe it's somebody needed to hear this, and maybe somebody's dealing with this. People need to know they're not alone as well. And no matter what you're feeling, there's somebody out there that feels the same way as you. It's a matter of communication. We are human beings. We are supposed to be the most intelligent thing on this earth, and yet we always lack in communication. Even people who are on the air lack in communication skills sometimes. So I think it's really important now to be able to have good communication skills, not be so sensitive, be open to different conversations, and be kind, be loving, be more accepting of things that we know we're all going to face, to be able to have these discussions. So with that, I'm going to close it for tonight. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me, and thanks for the participation. Everybody that had things to say in here, I really appreciate it. It's not an easy conversation, like I've said many times, and I just appreciate it. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you have a blessed evening. And I'll catch you on the next one, you guys.